Welcome to Discover Engineering's Chats with Changemakers. I'm your host, Kavya, and I'm a high school senior from New Jersey. And every month, I welcome a different guest from the engineering community. Today, I'm chatting with Izabel Marquez. Izabel is a systems engineer at Northrop Grumman. Izabel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And yeah, looking forward to this conversation. So I'm going to be asking Isabel a few questions to get to know a little bit more about her, and you can ask questions too by typing them in the Q&A box below, and we will save some time to answer as many as we can. So let's get started. Isabel, could you please provide an overview of Northrop Grumman and your role in the company?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so Northrop Grumman is a leading aerospace and defense technology company. The things that we do and the things that we make help our customers to, connect people, protect people, and also just like push the boundaries of human exploration. Anything that Northrop works on can range from airplanes to radars to sensors, or to the James Webb Telescope. So there's a wide range of things that we do at Northrop. As for what I do, my role is systems engineering, and systems engineering is a really broad field. You can think of it as the field that focuses on designing or managing really complex systems. And to give you an example, if you look at like an airplane or an aircraft, there's a bunch of different systems that need to work together to make sure that aircraft flies safely. As a systems engineer, you look at all those different systems and you say, what needs to talk to what, who needs to do what in order to get this airplane up and running safely. So that's a little bit about what Northrop does and then how my role contributes to that.
Awesome. And I understand that many of the projects you work on, they have applications in the field of aerospace engineering. So I was just wondering what drew you to that field and how did your college experiences influence your path to become a systems engineer?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let's see. I came into college knowing that I wanted to do some kind of engineering. I stuck with mechanical. And then after my sophomore year of college, I got a summer job or an internship out at Edwards Air Force Base in Palmdale, California. I worked there as an intern for flight test engineering. And so basically, for 3 months straight, I was in the middle of the desert working on equipment that was going to be used on fighter jets. And then, you look up in the sky and 24/7, there's airplanes in the sky being tested. So just like really being in that environment for 3 months straight just really sparked my interest. And after that, I knew I wanted to stay in aerospace. The following summer, I got an internship with Northrop Grumman, who's also in aerospace, and then just kind of stuck with systems engineering. As for how I got into systems engineering, when I was applying to a bunch of different jobs, I just kept an open mind. I didn't go into college thinking I'm going to be a systems engineer one day. I just kept an open mind when applying to jobs, and I just ended up sticking with systems engineering.
That's great to hear. And how have you been able to accelerate your professional growth so early in your career?
Yeah. The biggest thing for me was just being friendly. I know like adults call it networking. You've heard that term maybe. But for me, it's just being friendly and meeting people along the way who are on the same path as you. Whether that's in classes or meeting people who have like the same interests as you, that can always take you a long way. I know for me personally, um, the girl who I shared a college dorm with my freshman year, her mom ended up working at Edwards Air Force Base. So sophomore year, we were all in class together one day, and she was like, "Hey guys, my mom is hiring interns. She works at Edwards. If you think you're qualified or if you're interested, go ahead and send me your resume, and I'll send it to her." And so if I would have never reached out to that girl freshman year, or just became friends with her, I don't know if Edwards Air Force Base would have happened for me. So it's just meeting people along the way and just being friendly because you never know like who can present you with a new opportunity.
Wow, what a story. So from your experience as a systems engineer, what is probably the most surprising piece of knowledge that you can think of that maybe not many people know of?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest surprise was just how like important systems engineering was. Like I said earlier, I systems engineering was not on my radar. I didn't even know there was a thing called systems engineering. But after being, in the position for 8 months now, I can confidently say that without systems engineering, you really couldn't get far because it's when you're given a project the customer kind of comes to you with a wish list. They say, I want you to build this thing, and I think I want to do this, this, and this. So you kind of take that wish list, and you can't go directly to the manufacturing floor and start building something. You have to like sit down and think through, okay, what does this thing that they want me to build, what does it need to do? How does it do that? And that's where systems engineering comes into play. So we do the very first steps of making sure everything works how it needs to work and the customer's wish list is kind of satisfied. So I just think the importance of systems engineering, I had no idea about that until I was in the role.
And in what ways do you think your job encourages you to be a change maker?
Yeah, I think by being a young woman in this field, I'm hoping that younger kids see me and think, if she's in that position and she can do engineering, then maybe I can too, or I can see myself doing what she's doing. So I think by simply holding this position, I'm hoping that younger kids see me and, it sparks their interest to maybe join the field and bring some diversity with them.
For sure. And
Yeah.
what is maybe one future trend or development in the field that you are excited about?
Yeah, I think this kind of goes to my last answer, but just the diversity I'm seeing coming into the field is amazing. I know when I was graduating from college, I had a chance to talk to some of the freshmen coming into their freshman year of college, and there was so many more women in the classes, and that was just so exciting to see because I know in my graduating class, the majority of people graduating were men, which is totally fine, but seeing that now younger women are starting to join the field and the diversity that that brings is super exciting. It's super exciting to see.
And I think that leads perfectly into the next question, which is what changes would you like to see in the fields of STEM today and tomorrow?
Yeah, I think not only diversity, I think that is something I definitely am excited to see. I also think more transparency, maybe. I know when I was in eighth grade, I had no idea what an engineer was. I thought they wore a hard hat and had a notepad and walked around construction sites all day. Like, I just didn't know what an engineer was. So I think opportunities like this, where someone in the career is able to talk to younger kids, the younger generation, and tell them what they really do, I'm hoping that that transparency allows the younger generation to say, you know what, is that something I can see myself doing? And if so, how can I get started? So I think diversity and transparency are two things I'm excited about.
And we have our first audience question, and they wanted to know what does a typical day at work look like for you?
Yeah. So it's important to say that there's no like real typical day for me. It just depends on the project I'm on, and the project can constantly change. And just due to the nature of what Northrop Grumman does as an aerospace and defense company, I can't talk about specifics, but I will try to paint the picture as best as I can. I'll usually come into work around 7:30. I head to my desk and check my calendar. One thing about engineering or any STEM field probably as well is that it's really big on working in a team. So I'll usually have a couple meetings every day to tag with my team and problem solve. Once I check my calendar, I'll usually start working on one of my tasks. Sometimes a task I can knock it out in a day, or sometimes one task can keep me busy a whole week. So I'll just usually start chipping away at it. Um, Whether that's at my desk or in a lab, that'll keep me busy most of the day. And then, I'll take lunch, usually have a meeting after that, and then pick up where I left off. As for, let's see, the projects I'm on, one of my very first projects when I joined a couple months ago was just getting caught up to speed on what a systems engineer does and how I was going to be part of the team and what my role was going to be. So that was one of my first projects, just getting caught up to speed. And then currently, I'm working on a project where I look at the internal systems of an aircraft and see how they're working together and how they need to communicate in order for our customers' wish list to be like satisfied. That's my current project right now.
And from what I'm hearing, collaboration is a given. It's like a must in your role. So I
Yeah.
was curious, what other types of engineers,
Mhm.
technicians, or roles do you work with?
Yeah. So I work closest with a team of coders, and their job looks awesome. From my perspective, it looks like they're like coding a video game all day, which seems like a great job to have. But after all the engineering and the design and the drawings are done, that's when we hand it off to the technicians. And the technicians have a really big role. They take what we gave them and they just start building it, whether it's, building a new aircraft or making adjustments to an aircraft or adjustments to a satellite. Like the technicians have a really big role on making sure our product gets done safely and, gets up in the air like it should. So I work with coders, technicians, manufacturers. There's a wide range of people that you work with.
And now I kind of want to dive more into the educational aspect of your journey and the skills that you've developed. So, what
Mhm.
strengths do you have that that make you a good engineer or a technician, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think there's probably three big strengths that I have.
Mhm.
The first is problem solving. I think as an engineer, you're going to be faced with maybe several problems every day and you need to figure out how to solve them. And I think that's one of my strengths, problem solving. I also think communication is a big thing. I mean, as I said, engineering and also working as a technician, it's big on working in a team. So the better you can communicate with your teammates and work through problems that you guys have when it comes to the job, that makes everything run so much smoother. And I also think creativity, like it kind of falls in place with problem solving, being able to think outside the box, that really helps you on your day-to-day job.
And did you have any mentors who inspired you to pursue the path that you are on today?
Yeah, I had so many mentors along the way. So let's see, my freshman year of high school, I joined Project Lead the Way. It's an intro to engineering course that you can take in high school. And I was the only girl in a class of like 30 boys. Luckily, the teacher was a woman, and she really helped me feel like I fit in. Like even though I didn't look like everyone else, I belonged, and that really helped me build the confidence I needed to continue in engineering. Let's see. And then fast forward to college, I had an advisor who really saw how interested I was in everything I was learning. And she really pushed me to continue to challenge myself in all of my courses and all academic courses I was taking. And so she was a big mentor to me. She really showed me how to implement like time management into all of my classes and how that can make me a better, well rounded engineer. And then most recently, I had a mentor uh, last summer. She really taught me the ropes of systems engineering. She took me under her wing and she showed me what a good systems engineer does, what makes a good systems engineer. Um, so I've had so many mentors along the way. And I don't know if I would be where I'm at today without all those mentors. So very grateful.
Yeah, and I think what's super interesting about your journey is how important relationships have been and in
Yes,
helping you accelerate your growth. So I think that's like a great takeaway for all of the students who are tuning into this.
100%.
And we have our second audience question. So this is Jack from Andover Elementary School.
Mhm.
And he wants to know, what were your favorite things to learn as a kid in school? And what has helped you the most with your career now?
Yeah. So, in the fourth grade, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I
Mhm.
was set on being a marine biologist. I loved sharks. But I always knew in the back of my mind that I really enjoyed math. Not that I was the best in my class at math. I was not the smartest in math. It did not come easy, but it always really intrigued me. So I just kind of stuck with it, and that carried me. And math is a really big thing for engineers. It's like a big part of your foundation. So I think the fact that it was already of interest to me in the fourth grade, not that I was the best at it, but it was something that interested me, and then continue to work on it all throughout college. Um, I think that is definitely something that led me to engineering in general. Just having an interest for math, it was a really big thing for me.
And in thinking of the students who are joining us today and in the future, what is one piece of advice that you would want to give to your younger self?
Yeah, I think not to give up on your dreams. I remember my very first test in college. It was my very first engineering test. I had studied super hard for it, and then I failed it. I got like an F. It was super disappointing, and I was very disappointed. But I didn't let that stop me. And I'm looking back at it now. I'm super grateful I didn't because I wouldn't be where I'm at today. If I would have given up back then. So I think don't give up on your dreams. I also think the second big thing is to never be afraid to ask too many questions. I know it can kind of feel silly to ask questions in class. You might think, oh, what are my classmates going to think if I ask this silly question? But no question is ever a bad question. So I think there's two things, like don't ever give up and don't be ever afraid to ask too many questions.
And what is one skill that technicians and engineers of the future should develop?
Yeah, I think that kind of piggybacks off of one of my other answers, but problem solving. I know what helped me. I think it's a skill that you learn. I wouldn't say I was the best problem solver, but what helped me become a better problem solver was just kind of changing my mindset. Initially, when I was younger, when I was given a problem, I kind of freaked out and I said, "Oh my gosh, am I going to be able to solve this? Is this too hard for me?" I've changed from that mindset to the mindset I currently have, which is, okay, this is a problem. It's giving me a chance to learn. It's an opportunity to figure out what skills I need to sharpen. Because at the end of the day, when you're a good problem solver, you're a better, well rounded engineer. So I think problem solving.
And what would you tell kids who maybe aren't so sure about engineering or
Mhm.
think that they're not cut out to pursue that path?
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, so let's see. I definitely think that if you're questioning whether or not you're cut out for engineering, I'm going to let you know it's going to be a hard set of classes that you have to take, a hard career to go through, but you're more than capable of it. You know, you don't have to be the smartest, you don't have to be the quickest to answer a question in class. If you're determined, then you can 100% be capable of becoming an engineer. And that's my story. I was not the smartest, not the quickest to answer questions, but I was very determined. So if you're determined, then you are definitely cut out to be an engineer. Um, and to just kind of trust yourself. You know, once you're determined and you have a goal in mind and you stick with it, you're capable of so many things.
And so you talked about stay determined and committed. And so I wanted to know, how do you not only find your passion, but keep your passion ignited?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing is having an open mind. So when you go into a class like math with an open mind, it really allows you to see if you're interested in it. Because if you go into math with a closed mind and think, oh, I'm no good at it anyways, you're not going to allow yourself the opportunity to see, you know what, am I good at math? Does it interest me? So I think going into whatever it is with an open mind can help you see if you're really interested in it. And then once you find an interest or a passion, I think continuing to challenge yourself in whatever that is can really keep the passion alive, whether that's taking a harder math class or trying something new for the first time. Just kind of always challenging yourself can keep you really interested in that.
Definitely. And so, speaking of challenges, can you tell us about a time that you failed at something and what you learned from that experience?
Yeah. So it was that very first test in college that I studied for weeks for, and then I see the grade and it's an F. In that moment, I learned a really important lesson for myself. There was either two options. I could sit there and be very disappointed and choose to give up and go a different route, or I could say, you know what? I didn't do too good on this test, but what can I do better next time to get a better grade? Should I go to my teacher and ask more questions? Should I spend some more time studying? What can I do better to see the grade that I want to see? You know, so you always have those two options, and that was something I learned that very first test that I failed.
We have another audience question. So, this is from Jordan School in Pennsylvania. And they wanted to know, what is the starting salary for a systems engineer or like
Yeah.
similar fields?
Mhm. It definitely depends on where you live. So I'm in California, San Diego, California. I know for Northrop Grumman, as a starting engineer, you can go from anywhere from 70K to 100K. But I know it differs from company to company, but that's just what Northrop Grumman's like starting salary is down here in San Diego, California.
And now we're going to go into some personal questions, some fun
Yeah.
questions.
Mhm.
So this question is a fill in the blank. I am, you can like finish that sentence with one word to describe yourself.
Oh, I have a couple. I am very determined. I think that's just who I am as a person. Um, I was not incredibly good at one specific subject or incredibly smart at one specific subject, but I have always been a very determined person. And I think that's carried me the furthest, not only in school, but in personal life as well. So I would say very determined.
And if you could have one superpower, what would you choose and why?
Yeah. I think this is pretty fitting because I work in an aerospace company, but I
Mhm.
would choose to fly. I
Of
think it
course.
would be awesome to be able to get to where you need to go by flying. I also think the views up there would be incredible. So to be able to see that on a daily basis, there'd be nothing like it. So I think to fly would be my superpower.
Next one is one of my favorite questions. So, what's
Yeah.
something that you've done in your life that you're really proud of?
I'm very proud of graduating college with my degree in mechanical engineering. I stayed up so many long nights. I bugged all of my professors. They'd be like, "Are you back again with more questions?" I'd be like, "I have more." I bugged all my professors. I failed a couple tests here and there, but it was 100% all worth it because it was a goal I had in mind, and I'm glad that I was able to graduate with a degree in mechanical engineering.
And what is a skill that you haven't quite mastered yet but would like to?
Yeah, that's a great question. Time management. I know for me and for my team, sometimes I have like three different tasks I have to do, and they're all separate. But for me, sometimes I get ultra focused on one task, and I forget that I have two other things that need to get done. So I'm trying to get better at time management. So making sure that all of my tasks I put equal time into each. I don't like get laser focused on one specific thing and forget about everything else I have to do. So time management is something I'm still working on.
Awesome. And we're going to wrap up with this last question. What is something you like to do for fun outside of work?
Yeah. So I've been recently getting into rock climbing. I'm no good at it, but it's fun. Paddle boarding is also something I enjoy. Yoga, meditation. I like to do long hikes or walks. But when the weather's not too good down here, I like to read or music or watch movies with my friends. So usually anything outside makes me happy.
I think that's all the time we have for questions. So thank you so much, Isabel, for joining us today.
Of
I
course.
think the conversation was super valuable. I think one theme that I noticed was the
Mhm.
importance of staying curious and open-minded, and how
Yes.
that helped you create so many opportunities within the
Mhm.
field. And I think, since you have a career in systems engineering, a lot of it is pretty applicable in your daily role. Like you're
Mhm.
actually working with lots of different people, and that itself is kind of like a system. So,
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing all of that
Of
today.
course. Of course. I'm happy I could be here. Thank you.
And we also want to thank Northrop Grumman Foundation for partnering with us on today's episode. And we want to thank our chat sponsors, the United Engineering Foundation, Bechtel, NCEES, and TE Connectivity. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. To learn more about engineering careers, be sure to check out Discover Engineering's website at discovery.org. And also, please tell us what you think of Chats with Changemakers. We would love to hear your feedback. And if you're watching live on Zoom, you're going to be directed to a survey right after the webinar. So please make sure to fill it out. And everyone else can access the survey URL and QR code on the slide that's being shown. Be sure to tune in for our next episode of Chats with Changemakers. It's going to be on Thursday, May 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern to meet Freddie Barrera Aguilar, a product development engineer at TE Connectivity. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you next time.